what is going on, everybody? This is Beanie, and welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be going over the AL Central Team Epic Rewards, so strap in and let's get into it. All right, starting out for the Cubs, we have the 82 overall Matt Garza, and man, I've always kind of had an affection for the Cubs, and man, I wish they had a better Team Epic reward for this, but I mean, I like the Matt Garza. He's fine, but I don't know. I wanted one of those juicy diamonds for this card. But 82 overall Matt Garza, he has some things to like about him and some things that I don't really like all that much. Starting off with his per nines, they aren't good enough. I mean, 69, 79, it's not terrible. It's not the worst I've seen out of these team epics, but that 69 hit per nine is just pretty tough to get behind. I think that this guy is usable if like somehow you completed this epic and you don't have any other options. I don't think this guy would be terrible for you. I think he would be around average or whatever with his with like the whole package, but his per nines just, it's going to be something that you have to work around because your opponent's PCI is not going to be shrunk enough. It's going to be a little too big. But, you know, he does have the stuff to kind of combat that. His stuff is pretty solid. He throws his fastballs, both 94 four-seam, 94 two-seam. Got some good movement on the two-seamer. He's got a decent slider to go along with it. He's got a nice little 12-6 curveball. His changeup, I would like it if his changeup were a little slower, if he could throw that changeup maybe 4 miles per hour slower than his slider and have like that 12 mile per hour delta between his four seam and his changeup. That would make him a lot better, but that 8 mile per hour delta, that's just not really all that great. But he does have a good selection. You know, you're always going to be able to find a pitch to throw. Also 94, while that is like pretty good in this year's iteration of MLB The Show, it's still not hard enough to like really keep hitters honest on your off-speed stuff. So, you know, that might be another thing that you have to work around with this card. Overall, I think because he does have decent stuff and good pitch selection, it makes him an above-average pitcher, but not by much. His per nines might just end up being too much to overcome, so I ended up giving him a fag of a 6.4. Okay, next up we have the Cincinnati Reds, and this is what I'm talking about. This is the type of starting pitcher that I wish that I could have seen from the Cubs. This Johnny Cueto looks freaking nasty. So first off, his per nines, fantastic, 168 combined hit and K per nine, very, very solid. His walk per nine, solid enough at 70. I mean, you can work with a 70 walk per nine. That's going to be fine. You're going to be able to hit your spots just fine with that. He's not going to be pinpoint accurate, but he's going to be fine. And with 88, 80 hit and K per nine, you'll be able to miss sometimes and get away with it. His stuff, once again, very solid. He's just kind of a solid guy all around in reality. But his stuff, very solid. He's got that 94 mile per hour four seam. He's got that 93 mile an hour two seam, and then that 89 mile an hour cutter. It looks just like a freaking four seam coming out of his hands, but then it just kind of slows down and just kind of breaks to the right. It's going to be a nasty, nasty pitch for your opponents to face. So that's going to be one of your better out pitches, especially against right-handed hitters. It'll kind of work as it might even be better than a slider, just because cutters are, if you can spot that cutter on the outside half of the plate, it's a very difficult pitch to time up correctly. He does have an 85 mile per hour changeup for a 9 mile per hour delta. It's not as much as I would really like for this card, but it's not, I mean, you know, it's workable. It's not great, but it's workable. And then he has that 85 mile per hour slider to go along with it. You can kind of tunnel that with a cutter to make for a pretty effective pitch mix and really throw your opponent's timing off. Overall, I like this card. I've always kind of liked this card. Johnny Cueto has always kind of been known as a pitcher that disrupts hitters' timing with different types of motions and stuff. And while you can't do that in this game, I think his pitch mix is going to be good enough for you to disrupt hitters' timing. Mix that with his per nines, you have a very solid pitcher, and I ended up giving him a fag of a 7.8. Next up is the 85 overall Carlos Gomez, and once again, this is one of those cards that I end up really liking. This is kind of what I wish the Hunter Pence would have been, but maybe a little bit different, not exactly like this, but this is kind of the card that I like to think about. He's a guy that if you put him on your bench, he would be one of your best bench options that you have. He can pinch run for you, he can be a defensive replacement, and he can be a pinch hitter versus lefties. But even if you start this card, you're going to get great defense, you're going to get great speed, and he's going to kill lefties. He's very startable. And the reason he's startable is because he's not terrible versus righties either. 71-60, while it's not great, while he's not going to be your best hitter against righties, it's still serviceable. It's still workable. You can figure out a way to get on base with this card. And if you do get on base, he's going to be pretty lethal on the base pass. 86 speed with 890 stealing. That's not, you know, elite level, but it's one step below elite level to where he's going to be able to steal bases very consistently, and he's going to be able to create runs in really fun and unique ways. I love cards like this, and he's going to save you runs too because he's going to be very rangy out in the outfield, and if you put him in center, he's going to have one of the better arms for a center fielder in this game with 84 arm strength. So he's going to be able to throw out runners too. There's a lot to like about this card. The only thing that might hold this card back a little bit is that 60 power versus righties, but once again, that's not terrible. It's still hard enough to get some decent exit velos on your hits, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Overall, fantastic card. I love it, and I ended up giving him a fag of a 7.5. I know that that's not like the, you know, there have been cards that have better fags, but I think that you can find a way to extract extra value out of this card, especially if you put him on your bench, and you can really pick and choose when to play him. So yeah, really love this card. Next up is the 88 overall Bill Mazeroski, and this card is just brutally average. It's a very weird card. There aren't a lot of these like second basemen that have excellent defense and but not a lot of speed, and they have a little bit of power versus righties, not a ton, but a little bit, but don't really hit for a lot of contact versus righties, and then they hit for a lot of contact versus lefties, but not a lot of power. It's just a very weird card overall, and the thing that kind of holds me back from giving this card a great grade or anything like that is just kind of the lack of a direction, I guess. I don't know. Okay, versus righties, he'll be able to hit the ball out occasionally, you know, with this card. But against lefties, he's going to have a big PCI, but he's never going to be getting any good exit velos. And I know a lot of people, I've had a couple people in my comment section say that, oh, you can work with power as long as you approach your at-bats correctly and you use him as like a slap hitter, and you'll get a lot of bloop hits and stuff like that. Listen, I've tested this out, and power is king this year. I don't like it. I wish that it wasn't the case, but power is extremely important this year. It's a very, very important thing, and if you have a low power guy, not saying that this guy is a really low power guy, it's just kind of average power, you know, if you mix them both together. But if you do have a low power guy, I'm kind of going off on a tangent right now, but if you have a low power guy, you're just not going to be getting the exit velos that you want, and if you don't get an exit velo over like 85 to 90 miles per hour in this game, it's going to be an out like 90% of the time. Those bloop hits just don't happen often enough, and they're too compatible. The way that I've found like how to get slap hitters out is just bring my outfield in to where they're shallow and then throw high, like throw up in the zone, and they'll either pop out or hit a blooper right to my outfielder because I'm playing him in, and they're basically no threat to hit it over their head unless my opponent just absolutely destroys one, which almost never happens. So I don't know. I disagree with you guys. I don't think power. I think power is way too important this year. I kind of hope they balance it out later on. But until they do, I think this card is just brutally average. I don't think there's anything that really makes it stand out other than maybe like really good defense. And he hits righties okay, so maybe you want to take that into account and try him out and just see what he does. But I'm probably not going to be going after this card. I wouldn't if I were you. And I ended up giving him a fag of a 6.1. I just think he's average to maybe slightly above average. And once again, we have another brutally average card, and this one for a bit of a different reason. This one is amazing out in the field, and he has fantastic speed to go along with it, and he also has great contact versus righties, and he's a switch hitter. What's there not to like? Well, just like I was talking about earlier, it might have been more appropriate for me to go off on that tangent on this card, but the Ozzie Smith just doesn't have enough power. And yeah, okay, you can try to work around it by, you know, being a slap hitter or something like that and utilizing his speed and all that. But I'm telling you, I'm just being honest with you guys. You guys can try that, and then I'll throw, you know, a low contact, high power guy on my team at shortstop with worse defense, worse speed, and all that. I guarantee you that I have a higher batting average. I hit more home runs. I hit more doubles, and the defense doesn't hurt me enough to make up for it. So I don't know, man. I don't think that these cards have the value that they should this year. Against righties, you know, maybe you'll be able to drop in a few bloop base hits if your opponent isn't combating you correctly. But I think the lack of power just makes this a brutally average card, and I probably wouldn't be using him if I, you know, if I had this card, he probably wouldn't make my team. Let's just say that. But for that reason, I ended up giving him a 6.0 fag below the Vizquel. The Vizquel got a 6.9, but that was mostly because he has higher contact versus lefties. He's good versus both sides as far as contact goes. And I believe, yeah, he does have slightly higher power than the Ozzie. And for those reasons, I ended up giving him that boost that he needs to kind of, you know, be slightly above average, or well above average, I guess. 6.9 is pretty good. But this Ozzie just doesn't do it for me, man. If you like this card and if you think you can make it work, go ahead. But until I see it in action, until I see someone with a 340 average with one of these guys, I'm not buying in. I just don't think it's workable. So yeah, if you want to send me proof of that, feel free at Beanie Antics on Twitter. So yeah, but anyways, yeah, that is going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. If you think that I'm wrong about power, be sure to dislike and leave a negative comment, because that's what people seem to do whenever they disagree about things. But not everybody. I'm just kidding. Most of you guys are perfectly reasonable, and you guys are just, you guys are good to agree to disagree, but a lot of people leave a dislike if they disagree with something. It's just kind of weird. But anyways, I love you guys. I will see you guys later on, but until then, peace.